is it okay to kill mosquitoes? It depends on who you talk to. So I've been having a conversation with a guy at work over the course of since there's been mosquitoes attacking us, right? And so there's a few ways to look at it for sure. So number one of the things that got brought up is ahimsa. So this is like non-violence, you know. Some people, myself included, practice this, you know. Violence is never the answer. There's nothing that warrants violence, as far as I know anyways. And so, you know, you don't want to hurt another living being. Don't want to cause suffering or grief or anguish or anything like that to another living being. So that's a thing. But so the thing is how you define the word violence, because as I understand it, violence is an act of where you essentially impose something that is unwanted on another living being. And so, like I would say, fighters, whether it's like boxers or UFC or something like that, this is not violence because they both agree to this. You know, they are participating in a sort of a competition, in a duel, in a, you know, so there is a situation happening. And so this is not violence. Violence is when you know, when you impose yourself on somebody and they don't want it, right? And so as far as it goes with the mosquitoes, I mean, we don't want it. You know, they're clearly coming after us. They are imposing themselves upon us. So it's like, you know, there is certainly a part of me that's like, well, it's not, we don't like to get bit and get itchy and stuff like that. So, you know, you have a choice to go like that and even more when they're in your space. Say if I had mosquitoes in here, you know, one of those. And so this is the thing, is like, is this okay? You know, it's a funny scenario. So like mosquitoes, they're not, so I live in North America and Canada, they're not from here. And so they are one of the top invasive species in North America. It's like mosquitoes and rats and cats, I do believe. They're not from here, and so they're responsible for a wide variety of issues. It's that kind of plague people and mankind. I mean, of course, we are to the cause of all of this, because they didn't make their way over here, they were brought over here, but here they are. So it's like, you know, you have to find your way with this deal, this scenario. And so that's the thing, you know, like you don't want to kill another animal, but you don't want to be bit. So it's like, you know, there's a sort of a conundrum to deal with. And it's like, so you could look at it, it's like, well, you know, try looking at another example in life. And I would say, like, say I work at a place where there are certain big livestock, which would normally be considered to be wild animals. And so these animals, some of them just had babies. And so, you know, if you enter into their territory, which is the field, it's the cage, but like the place where they're kept, this is their territory, and they are territorial. And you know, because there are young ones, they are protective. And if you go in there, there's a pretty good chance, you know, that you will not be welcome in there and you will be chased out. I mean, even when there are not newborn calves, I mean, it's to do with the scenario, but it's like you're not super welcome in there. So there's like a defense mechanism. And I think it's, you know, some of that kind of relates to what is going on with us and the mosquitoes. It's like we defend ourselves, you know, defense against a predator, you know. And it's tricky because, like, you know, I recognize mosquitoes to be to have a certain degree of intelligence about them. You know, like they hide in the cracks of doorways so that when you open it, the door, the in draft actually draws them in. And so then they enter before you, or they will come in on the backs of your clothing and like into a space that you would consider bug free. And so, you know, they're clever. You know, they also know that when you have both of your hands full, then you can't operate them, stop them. And so it is so that is a good time to bite a person or to get on them. I mean, and then there's you know, they will go for the articles of clothing that are that leave you exposed. So somewhere where it's very thin, like, you know, so they know socks, they understand socks, you know, and that, but there's other places that they can't get through. It's not that they don't try, but there is an understanding there. Or just like how it's like if you are wearing something that's a bit heavier, but then you bend over, they will bite you on your butt, which might have otherwise loose clothing, but because they understand that you are creating this tightness there, they go straight for it. Like they're clever, you know. And it's funny because like it's not like they're taught this. They don't live for a terribly long period of time, whether it's like a week or two. And so like they understand this like instinctually. This is like a, you know, they have this, I guess, kind of a knowledge of how to work humans, because we are certainly prey for them. And you know, and with them not being from here, it's like, well, like it or not, they are here. You know, I don't know how to remedy the situation going forward, but so like just, you know, feeling, yeah, finding a way with it in the midterm is the answer for me anyways. And so what is it, you know, there's another thing too. It's a funny old Taoist like kind of proverb or metaphor or something like that. So it's like the master, is like the master and the student, and the master is, and they're fishing, which, you know, but anyways, they're sitting by a lake, whatever the case, not fishing, because ahimsa, right? And so they're sitting there, and then a mosquito lands on the master's arm and he goes smack, and then the student is like, what, right? Like, because like ahimsa, you know, non-violence. And he looks to the student and he says, animals will live either longer or shorter lives depending on their actions. You know, it's just like if you play in a street, you know, a busy road, this is a danger place. So it's like you have to be aware of your surroundings, of your environment, and the threats that are there. I mean, and they come after us. I mean, we clearly have hands and swatters and things and ways of swatting mosquitoes. So it's just like, yeah, you have to, we have to, yeah, they have to take that into account. And it's like, so, you know, something else that comes into play as well is mindfulness. It's like, you know, unfortunately, we live in a society. So it's like I work at a place where there's mosquitoes, but there aren't mosquitoes everywhere. It is near a river, and it is just that time of the year. And so any like knowledgeable or any like wise being would say, if there's a lot of mosquitoes here, I will just go somewhere else. Very simple. But the way that it is our homes, some of our homes and our places of work, they are situated at a place where there are these mosquitoes. So we do not have this liberty of just walking away whenever we want to. And, you know, for me, chemical bug sprays is not an option. So I'm like, you know, covered up head to toe. It's kind of rough this time of the year. But yeah, I mean, it's a funny one, you know, and yeah, the word mindfulness comes into play as well. It's just like, you know, you have to, you know, no matter how what your relationship to this being is, this insect. You can try to make agreements with them. You can, work it whatever way that you can. There's always a better way, and there's always room for improvement. And certainly cooperation and working together, and like not thinking that they're not supposed to be here and that you're better than them and they just deserve to die. That's not it doesn't cut it for me anyways. There has to be some way, but then at the same time, doing those. So I don't know. I mean, it's just a fascinating concept, about whether or not it is ethical or moral or just like okay or right to kill mosquitoes. Back to source. And at the end of the day, I do protect myself, and I don't feel bad about it. I have searched my soul. I've looked at the philosophies that I'm aware of. I've talked about it with numerous individuals who take the concept seriously as well, because it's like, the well-being of another animal, of another species, at least for myself, is something that I hold in high regard. So it's like, it's important to question, for myself, to question all of my actions, my attitudes and my behaviors, the things that I'm doing that could be affecting another being in a negative way. And if there was a better way, I think it's up to you. Say, perhaps the human is the more advanced of the species here. We have this, we're operating on a bit of a different level, so perhaps we're able to handle the situation where you have to be the bigger person and find this other way, find a way to either coexist or, to manage this relationship in a more healthy way. And, sometimes that means that, just like they're there, maybe it is us that needs to, I don't know. I don't know. So that is that. I wish you all the best with this little scenario.